So this is the Studhawk tiling video about how to tile a bathroom, and before we take you on site to the actual work in the bathroom, we're going to show you on the whiteboard a drawing of the bathroom. So our bathroom is something like this. There's our back wall. Here's our side wall. Here's the floor. Like so. And the ceiling. In here we've got a bath. And the bath will be something like that. On the wall here we've got a spout filler for the bath. Over here we've got the two taps that control the filler, with pipe work going underneath to the filler. Over here we'll have a 4-inch soil pipe. Goes around under the back of the bath and then into a floor drain, which is quite rare but not so uncommon in blocks of flats. Out here we're going to have a bit of boxing in to box this soil pipe here. Here we're going to have a toilet, and then in the corner there's a sink. Obviously it's up at this height in a cabinet along this wall. So here's your hand basin in its unit there. The shower will be, the water will come out here, and you'll notice that there's a little tiny pocket on our bathroom where we've pushed the bath an extra 2 inches into the wall. How did we do that? Well, you remember the video on the stud partition wall. On a stud partition wall you have 4x2 inch timbers normally. That's a timber. And then that's an upright. And then you'll have another upright. Well, if you want to steal 2 inches out in order to be able to put a bath through a wall, like so, this will be your bath, then what you'll need to do is turn these timbers on edge to create a thinner wall so that your 2x4 can go this way, saving half of the thickness of the timber. In tight bathrooms, this scenario is actually very useful and gets you out of lots of problems. As did this bathroom with the thickness of the plaster on the wall. All the plaster on the wall came off, and here's a window, and we had to give it a skin everywhere before starting with rapid adhesive over the brickwork to level and smooth the brickwork off on the walls. You'll see here that we have a rather ugly soil stack, floor to ceiling, that we're going to box in to hide that soil stack, and out of the side of the soil stack come the towel rail radiator pipes, which goes here at the side of the window, though it's not quite to scale of this drawing. Now, what you'll notice about baths is that they all have a ledge, a lip, an inch of metal along the edge of the bath. And this is important to decide your start point, whether your tile is going to be on top of the bath, a whole tile, or up to the edge, underside edge of the bath, having a tile so that you have here a manufactured edge and not a cut to cut fingers on when you're getting in and out of the bath. So you don't want to cut edge here onto the underside of the bath. So if you're having a bath panel that's tiled, that will be your exact setting out point there for the horizontal. Come below that, put a batten on that wall, which is where you'll see where we started, and started our tiling going up the wall like so. If we were not having a tiled bath panel, then what we would do is start with the whole tile on top of the bath. The room is a bathroom, so the focal point in the room is the bath. Here this soil stack came through, and for the bath legs, which normally have screw feet, and you can adjust them and put blocks underneath, which is what we had to do to lift the bath for enough height for the soil pipe for the WC here to go around the back of the bath and down into the floor. So that was a problem that we had to deal with there. And you'll see that we not only built a frame underneath for this bath with battens on the wall and a vertical here, so that the bath sat on a frame, but it also sits on its legs and blocks of wood. So the bath legs coming down have blocks of wood underneath, which you'll see later. We're going to tell you about wall tiling. We're going to teach you about what we call a progressing bond that folds around the corners. And a progressing bond, the next tile starts over like that, and then the next tile like so, and the next tile like so. This sort of bond avoids lots of small cuts. Now, as you remember, I showed you on the bench that tiling from A to B, if this is an imaginary wall, we'll draw it in horizontally so that you can see, we will be taking a centre line down the wall, exact middle from here to here. Then we will decide if we start with one tile that side of the centre line and one tile there, or if we start with one whole tile half on the centre line. This is so that when we get to the wall edge with tiles, that the cut is always bigger than a half. Yeah? Half or bigger. But also your start point for the height, bearing in mind the ceiling height, you want to finish with as near to a whole tile as possible at the top and at the bottom, down here, from the floor, and also here at the bath panel. And the average height of a bath is about 600-ish. That can be adjusted up or down to suit the tile or the room or the ceiling height. Sometimes your tile may come a touch short of the ceiling. Well, what are we going to do about that? Well, what we could do, we could introduce a dado. D-A-D-O. A dado tile, or a decorative band around the room, just to give us that extra few inches to compensate for not having to have a small cut at the top, all around the ceiling, which would look really ugly. So, start point, focal point of the room, being a bathroom, is the bath. If it's a tiled bath panel, start just under the lip of the panel so that you've got the manufactured edge finishing next to the lip. Or, if you're having a manufactured bath panel, start with the tiles directly off of the top of the levelled bath. And the bath must be perfectly level, because when these lines come around our room, through our tiles, and then back to the wall behind us, we do not want the line to be stepped or jumped. So the level has to meet all the way around exactly. Well, how do we do that? Well, we mount these battens on the wall. Pieces of 2x1 batten to start our first row of tiles to come up the wall. As we come up the wall, we level horizontally and vertically, checking every tile with our spirit level as we go around the room. Now when we get to corners, this folding idea, if we take a tile or a piece of paper, we can fold it anywhere we like. So that piece, being on the next wall of this tile, would be folded as a whole tile around the room. So that would be the offcut of the whole tile, but on the next wall. So we're folding as we go around the room. We're going to show you how to do detraumating all over the floor. We're going to be putting underfloor heating elements that do this, that are an electric element that go to coil all through the room. We'll show you how that's installed. And where to put the thermostat outside of the room, which must be connected by a qualified electrician. To run the cables yourself, all you need to be is a competent person. That's running a cable through a hole in the wall and making sure it's got a sleeving as it comes through the wall, which you'll see in this sort of area over here in the when we take you on site. So, considerations are setting out the height of the room, the height of the bath, any drainage going underneath, where your cuts fall according to your windows. Does it hit your window? And you'll see we were lucky here because our tile hit just nicely to the window to be able to give it a bit of a white frame of its woodwork and then a metal trim edge to the tile. Okay, let's go to site. Thank you.
The amazing new Studhawk Saw Guide set. There are 2 Studhawks in the pack. The Studhawk 90 makes cutting square simple, and those difficult miters, the Studhawk 45 makes them a piece of cake. The Studhawk helps keep your fingers safe and save time squaring a line. Get your Studhawk Saw Guide set today.